The revolution's begun. The time to stand up has come. We are the rocking of the throne. We are the rocking of the throne.
3, 2. Hello, my name is Victor Tiffany, the co-founder of Revolt Against Plutocracy, talking today with CFAR candidate Peter Jacob from New Jersey. Peter, thanks for joining me today.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Try to get this, there we go. So let's begin by just telling the viewers a little something about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Peter Jacob. I'm a social worker here in the state of New Jersey, seeing the challenges many families and individuals face firsthand, whether it's working 2 or 3 jobs, not making ends meet. Our veterans who serve our nation come back home, jobless, homeless, suffering from PTSD. Senior citizens literally choosing between food and life-saving medication every single week. I said enough was enough for me, and in 2016, 2 years ago around this time, I started my run for U.S. Congress. We had barely any money, no name recognition, but by the end of that campaign, we had over 1,500 volunteers across 14 states. We ended up with the strongest campaign against entrenched establishment Republican here in the 7th Congressional District of New Jersey, with nearly 45% of the vote. No establishment backing, just everyday people who are intrinsically motivated, ready to come out, bring some change to our community.
So you're going to be one of the strong CFAR candidates, having done this in the past and already gotten a good deal of support. Tell people why you decided to sign the Contract for American Renewal.
Yes. So the reason I signed the contract is because it's simple. Look, the fact of the matter is, with everything that's happened, if Donald Trump is not a wake-up call in and of itself, the fact of the matter is the stakes are very high and the time is limited to settle for anything less than bold and progressive policies. We need a Medicare for all single-payer system. We don't need health insurance, we need health care in America. It is a crisis and it could be easily solved by a single-payer system. We need to make sure we invest in our infrastructure. Look what happened just last week. An Amtrak train that was carrying several Republicans to a retreat, including our own current incumbent, Leonard Lance, there. And I'm glad nobody got hurt. I did hear a truck driver had a fatal incident. But the irony there was that Republicans refused to invest in Amtrak. Then a few days later, we see the same thing in South Carolina. We see incidences in New York. We need to desperately invest in our infrastructure. That's a promise Donald Trump made, but he hasn't kept. No surprise there. We need to make sure we fully fund our institutions of higher education and ensure that anybody could go to the college or a technical school of their dreams, and money should not get in the way of something like that. We need to raise.
So you're providing me with a segue to my next question. Because you're listing some pretty high-priced ticket items: infrastructure, Medicare for all, higher education. These are the 3 big ticket items on the contract. You're just a tax and spend liberal, aren't you?
Well, what I believe in is what FDR believed in, and that is investing in people. We need to put we need to put an end to this misunderstanding of what economics is. This trickle-down supply-side economics does not work. What has worked and what will work is what we've already seen in this nation. I'm an idealist, but my idealism is based in the realism that we saw the practicality of the New Deal and the Great Society endeavors and initiatives. What we need to do is put people to work. We need to create good paying jobs. And when you do that and you put money into the pockets of everyday people, what do? They go out and spend that money in the local economy. And that virtuous cycle, as Robert Reich likes to put it, continues and goes on. That's how the economy works. When you give tax breaks and tax cuts to the wealthiest individuals and corporations, what do? They put it into their own pockets. They go gamble and speculate on Wall Street. That doesn't help our economy. It hurts it.
Well, we're about ready to find out, because that's exactly what's underway in this current tax bill. Which of the other major policy positions that you put on your signed on with your contract are you feel most passionate about besides those three?
Mm-hmm. So I believe even to get to those three, we need to address the issue, the crux of it all, and that is the role of corrupting money in politics. There's a tsunami of money that floods the pockets of politicians and drowns out our voices. And it's coming from the moneyed special interests that have corrupted our politics for years. We need to overturn Citizens United. We need a constitutional amendment that says corporations are not people, money is not speech. My campaign also supports the American Anti-Corruption Act that wants to put an end to political bribery, put an end to the secret money groups like Americans for Prosperity, quote unquote, run by the Koch brothers. And we need to restore democracy by ensuring that your voice and your vote is heard.
That's great. How do you expect to deploy this contract? We refer to it as a cudgel that you can use to smack your opponents. You're going to put this on your website? Are you going to use this during interviews? Are you going to use this during the debates? And let me just give you an example. I won't name names, but I just saw a CFAR candidate in a very lengthy interview with Lee Camp. She never mentioned that she's a CFAR candidate. So how do you expect to be using this contract to gain the upper hand during the primaries this year?
Mm-hmm. Well, what you mentioned right now, like in interviews, we're in a tough primary right now. As a result of our hard work in 2016, this district has been one of just very few that are being closely watched. We're in a six-way primary. Our candidacy and our campaign is the Clear Progressive campaign. And so what we've done is take people to task. You know, I'm on a stage with fellow Democrats who cannot say Medicare for all, yet say healthcare needs to be a human right. I'm on a stage with fellow Democrats who claim to be progressive, who cannot take the commitment of taking zero corporate PAC money. You know, these are basic things that we need to do to regain the trust of Americans, of everyday voters. The fact of the matter is we need to talk about these issues, and that's what we've been doing. And we need to be vocal. And I pledge to make that commitment, to make it clear that these values and what we are fighting for will be the platform of the Democratic Party, and not just the Democratic Party. It will be the platform for America when we get to Congress.
You did a little more than pledge. You signed a binding commitment to your voters.
Indeed. Yep. So when we get to Congress, they will hold me accountable.
Absolutely. That's part of our objective, is to hold CFAR elected officials accountable to what they signed on to in the next election. So you sort of already outlined in the last answer why voters in your district should choose Peter Jacob over your opponents. Can you just give us maybe one or two more key reasons why you think I know why you're the preferred candidate, because no one else has signed this contract. Why do you think you're the preferable over your opponents in this primary?
Well, first and foremost, we showed up. A little over 2 years ago around this time, I knew what was happening. I knew what was at stake for our nation. We needed to turn things around. And I was a social worker on ground zero every single day, seeing the challenges firsthand. The stories, heard them over and over. The only difference was the faces. So we showed up. We did the hard work. And we are staying committed to those values. We have not wavered. We've only learned more about what's going on and improving the situation. And we've made this district a bit progressive. You know, the current incumbent, he's on MSNBC, he's on NPR, the quote-unquote liberal left-leaning media, sounding more like a Democrat every single day. So we pulled this district to the left, essentially. And nobody expected a brown-skinned, bearded, millennial, progressive Democrat social worker to make that happen. And so I want people to remember that we made the fight, we created the fight, and people are welcome to run. I look forward to, after we win this time around in 2020 when we're running for re-election, to show up again. I expect 6 or more candidates to be on that stage with me as we compete for the Democratic Party nomination. So, we were there. We know what the lay of the land looks like as well. We know where our strengths are. We know where our weaknesses were. We just need to build on our name recognition. We just need to build on our successes from the past.
Agreed, and I look forward to recruiting you as an incumbent in 2020 so you can sign the next version we have for the contract. Peter, thanks for joining me today. I appreciate your time, and good luck to you in your primary.
Thank you.
Revolt Against Plutocracy won't just be covering the news about the necessary revolution in the United States. Sometimes we'll be making the news. If you want to stay on top of the revolutionary actions and strategies of grassroots, genuine progressives, and our allies, please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.